The creation is done at two levels. One is at the collective level, another is at the individual level. We call this as macrocosm at the collective level or microcosm at the individual level. So, what happens at the individual level? The soul is covered by five sheaths. They are like layers on a onion, you can say that, somewhat akin to that. The first layer or the sheath, we call it Anandamaya Kosha in Sanskrit, or the sheath of bliss. Over this is the second layer, we call it Vignan Maya Kosha, or the sheath of knowledge. The next layer, we have Manomaya Kosha, or the sheath of the mind. Over this is the next fourth layer, we call it Pranamaya Kosha, or the sheath of life force. And the last layer is what we call Annamaya Kosha, or the sheath of flesh and blood. So these are the five layers which are spun around the soul. Broadly, if we have to speak on this, we can divide these five layers into three categories also. At the time of death, it is the gross body or the last layer of flesh and blood that is left behind, and rest of the four layers are intact. What we call this as Sukshma Sharira, or the subtle body. That is the one which leaves, quits the body and leaves at the time of death. Now, if we remove the next three layers, let there be only the first layer, that is Anandamaya Kosha. That is called as Karan Sharira, or the casual body. That is more subtle than the subtle body. So we have the gross physical body, and then we have the subtle body, and of course we have the casual body. Okay, right. Next, let's see how the construction of the individual world takes place for the human being. After the first layer is formed, when you come to the second layer, that is Vijnanamaya Kosha, or the sheath of knowledge, there are two things which are created there. First is the intellect, or we call it buddhi in the Sanskrit, and the second is egoism, or the aham. These two are co-located in uh, the same place at the same sheath. Now this sheath is of utmost important for the yoga practitioners. The reason is, it is in this sheath of knowledge that all the karmas are accumulated and they're stored, you can say that. Or people may even refer it to as subconscious mind, for the sake of ease of understanding. Then, over the next layer, at the level of mind, which we call it as Manomaya Kosha, or the sheath of mind, you have all the 9 categories of emotions. Human emotions are implanted there. Over and above that, the power to exercise free will, or what we call it as sankalpa, in Sanskrit, that is also implanted in this particular sheath. Over this is the Pranamaya Kosha, or the layer of life force, or the sheath of life force. In this sheath of life force, you have 5 major life forces. I mean, life force itself gets divided into 5 further life forces, major life forces. And then you have 5 minor life forces also. It is these life forces which keep the body the way as known to human being. They function, they have the various different functions, and uh, they ensure that the human body is maintained. I will just touch briefly upon it. I will not go into the details of it, because otherwise the video will become too long. One of the 2 of the major life forces are, one is Pran, and the second one is Apan. Pran functions in the upper portion of the body, and the Apan, it functions in the lower part of the body. Both try to pull at each other in opposite directions. That means Pran is trying to pull up and the Apan is trying to pull down. And as long as these 2 are balanced, are in pulling at each other in the opposite direction, human being is alive. If these 2 happen to go in one direction, either up or down, either death occurs or moksha occurs. This is the important thing to remember. Now, when the creation is taking place, the primordial power, where the power is coming from, it is coming from the soul only, that is Atma. It is the same power which is coming from the Atma. That means the power of the soul itself covers, or the Atma or the soul is covered by its own power. First is in the form of a layer of bliss, sheath of bliss. Thereafter, now the cosmic power is in creative mode. Please note this. It is in the creative mode, outbound mode. It is coming out of the soul, creating layer after layer, layer after layer over the all around the soul. It has created the second layer, that is the sheath of knowledge, along with egoism. And then the next layer is the, as I said, the sheath of the mind, and then followed by the sheath of the life force, and then lastly the gross physical body. Now, with this, the creative part, creation of the world around the person is now over. Now, here, once the world has been created around the person, please understand that in the sheath of the mind, all the required sensors are also in place. And what are those sensors? The sensors which can perceive the 5 elements outside, they are also placed within the human mind. You are all aware of all the 5 elements of the physical world, that is earth, water, fire, air, and then the third or last one is ether, akasha. Although the modern science doesn't accept the existence of the ether, let's keep the modern science aside for some time being, and let us understand it from the yoga point of view. Now, these 5 elements are what this world is composed of all around us. And also the human body itself is also composed of these 5 elements only. So, in order for the soul to perceive this outside world, the sensors are put in the mind in the form of five senses, sensory points, or centers of the sense organs rather. As you all are aware, we what are the five senses? Eyes, ears, nose, and skin. So, how will the human being perceive these five senses unless the centers of the sense organs are placed in the mind? So, that is the point here to understand. So, with this, the creation part is now over. Now comes, and this cosmic energy, when it is in the form of this creative mode, we call it we refer to as the creatrix, or the uh, cosmic power that is in the creative in nature. We refer in Sanskrit to this particular energy as goddess Saraswati. Goddess Saraswati, the creatrix. Now, what happens after the creation is over? It needs to be sustained continuously. It has to be sustained, just like you project a film on a screen. You must be aware, the projector needs to project be some around 16 or 32 frames per second or something. Then only you get that illusion of motion on the screen. That's how the beam of the projector goes out and projects itself onto the screen. Similarly, the world has to be sustained for the individual. So this sustaining power, or we call it the psychic power, is what we call it as the sustaining power of the god. In Hindu Sanskrit text, we refer to as goddess Lakshmi. Goddess Lakshmi is the actual thing which is sustaining it, and it is also uh, referred to as uh, comprised of uh, 8 different psychic powers. It's not one psychic power. There are 8 psychic powers. We call it as Ashtalakshmi, or 8 forms of the goddess Lakshmi. It not only sustains the world for the individual all around him, but also it makes him experience rest everything attached with his emotions. As I said earlier, the mind also is comprised of 9 emotions. And what these psychic powers are, for example, I'll just give you 1 or 2 examples. You will get the entire hang of it. There is something known as a psychic power called Gajalakshmi. Gajalakshmi gives you individual a strong body, physical body. You will be very strong, like Hercules of the Hollywood movies. So, but then there is another psychic power, which we call it Dhairya Lakshmi, or the goddess of courage. If the goddess of courage has not been, that particular psychic power hasn't been unlocked in an individual, now he may be like a Hercules, but then he will get scared of even a cat. That's the issue here. Similarly, we have something known as Dhana Lakshmi, or the goddess of wealth. It is when the psychic power is unlocked in a human being, he is blessed with abundant wealth or money in life. So that's how the individual is, in case that psychic power is not unlocked, he will have to live in poverty. So that's how these psychic powers are, in some cases, partially unlocked, some cases fully unlocked, some cases in the various degrees. That's how they operate. Now coming to the third part of the creation. Now individual has been created at individual level. Now, how will he perceive the collective world outside him? As I said, there is a collective world also which has been created for him in parallelly. So that is what we call it as nature. All around us, mountains, rivers, oceans, forests. This is called nature. We refer it to in Sanskrit as Prakriti. That is what is referred to in Sanskrit literature as goddess Parvati. Goddess Parvati. So you have three goddesses: Goddess Saraswati, Goddess Lakshmi, and Goddess Parvati. But all the three goddesses are indeed one only. It is one form only. Don't ever forget that. And all that one power is emanating out of the soul, the individual's own power, because it is in a creative mode first, followed by sustaining mode, and then thereafter it is being made to experience the world around it. With this, the creation at individual level is over, and as such, it is already meshed with the collective world outside. Now, why I have taken this time to explain you all this is, when as a yoga practitioner is on the path of yoga, what is that actually going to be triggered here? The cosmic power which is in outbound mode is tampered with, so that it starts retracting backwards, back into the soul from where it has started its journey. As the it is starts retracting backwards, that point, that threshold, is what we call it as awakening of energy in loose terminology all over the world. Whether it may be any yoga system or any tantric system, that threshold has to be triggered. Unless that awakening doesn't happen, that means the point is not triggered, no progress can happen on any yoga path or any tantric path. And when the energy is now in retractive mode, that energy at individual level is what we call it by different names in different yoga systems. Popularly, it's called Kundalini energy, awakening of Kundalini energy. And at the macrocosm level, generally the Sanskrit text referred to as Goddess Kali. Goddess Kali. When the goddess is in a destructive mode, it disintegrates the entire cosmos. But at individual level, it is referred to as Kundalini energy. Why? Because it has to destroy its own world. What the illusion which has been created for the individual, it has to destroy itself. Otherwise, no individual can destroy it for himself. That has to be tampered with by a guru, and then the disintegration, the illusion of an individual world for an individual, that he is of his name is so and so, it belongs to so and so community, he belongs to certain town, or he is a rich person, he is a poor person, or everything has to be destroyed. It is disintegrated rather. That is the correct word probably to use. So that's it for now. I hope you got the general concept. In the next video, we will talk about more on the subject of Kundalini energy and other things. God bless you all.